Let's get right into Weiss Tiger.
Let's go. Welcome, Jake Illinook, to the Blade Dragons podcast. Welcome,
Hello,
welcome.
glad to be back. It's nice to be on the
hmm
show.
There we
Today
go.
we have got
And
the epic new release. I believe we're at BX33 now. Weiss Tiger or Weiss Tiger if you're feeling particularly ethnic. And it is it's a Beyblade. It's a pretty sick looking Beyblade. Now of
There's
course,
pros to it, cons to it that might be kind of worrying, but overall it looks kind of incredible
It
from like a
does.
design perspective.
yeah, it looks
it,
insane. And we thought Drawn Sword and
it
Shark
rem-
Edge were aggressive.
that's what I was
Yeah.
saying. It reminds me of like this side profile of what we saw in Drawn Dagger. That it literally looked like samurai swords. Like that one corner right there, literally looks like it could cut me by just looking at it. Like that's like a razor's edge there. And I've seen a couple in person pictures that we've seen, and the pattern's pretty nice. It's a new design that we're not very familiar with. Plastic inlays in the metal. It's pretty fun looking.
Yeah, I think we saw that on Hammer, but until then, we didn't get to see that. And then, oh wait, are you talking about like the bits right here?
Yeah, the white. Well,
Ah,
just like the white in general, just kind of flows.
yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think.
Like we definitely have had plastic like inside for the metal,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like we saw it with Hammer, where it was actually like a visible part of the design. And now we see it again here. I do have some concerns with that, but it definitely makes it look pretty interesting. There's a lot more detail going on. I think I said in my kind of YouTube video going over it that give a firm handshakes to whoever sketched this, because that's such a cool. It's very cool looking for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big cat logos.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
and
I was not sold on the logo at first, but it kind of grew on me a little bit.
really,
It looks better than I thought what's the Dino Bay? I can't even
oh
Tyranno
yeah,
Beat.
Tyranno Beat.
Tyranno
That
Beat.
one just
Yeah,
is so bad. It looks like a hairy
No.
dinosaur. Either way, one thing I did notice and I really want to point out is the shape of Weiss Tiger's blade reminds me a lot of the six-bladed mode on Blitz Unicorno from Metal Fight.
Yeah, I can see that.
If we get a image of Blitz here, Striker six blade, it looks pretty close. Yeah, here's that is so low quality. Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. It's interesting. I always forget that in that six blade mode, it's so not symmetrical. I mean, it kind of is symmetrical, but you'd expect it to be more even. But having like two blades than one, yeah, it's definitely odd.
Yeah, I think it definitely looked weird then, but
Mhm.
having this like be spaced out a little bit better, it looks pretty fantastic. I'm definitely excited to
Yeah.
see what attack combos come out of this, because this thing looks way more aggressive than they are advertising it to be. We get a look at the box. It is BX33. It's also back on 360, but that's the only reused part. And here's like
Mhm.
that profile of the blade, and then we get a
yeah.
white three ring,
We
which is pretty sick. And the gray on the base is pretty tight too. Really goes well with the
that'll pair
colors.
nicely with the drawn sword. That was in or no. Yeah, the drawn sword we got in the Shark Edge random booster
Yep.
or whatever.
Yeah, the
and then
gray
that
one.
could also look good on Shinobi Shinobi
Yeah, the
Oh,
the Black
yeah.
Shinobi, 100%. And then we also got Unite, which
Unite.
is not the Burst one. Pretty sure Burst, that was like the CS one in Burst. This one is very different. It's taper with a little point in the middle. So very interesting that they called this one Unite out of everything. But my issue is that like you can barely see it. We had a side profile and you can't even see it like sticking out of the bottom there, which is a little concerning.
That's yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I saw it and I was like, is this taper? Because I didn't even like look at the part breakdown, and then I saw like this and I'm like, that's taper. And then I heard someone say that it was like point taper, and I'm like, okay, so it's obviously a really fun concept because I think taper is still one of the best bits that we've gotten. And so I mean, point, I don't know. It kind of doesn't work if it's supposed to be like or it's supposed to be attack stamina for taper, and then stamina attack for point, and then they're just both stamina or whatever for
Yeah.
point taper.
It definitely could also be a mold thing too, like for gear point. I don't know which one was more prevalent or if they've kind of fixed it since, but gear point had the same thing to where some molds had that point piece pop out a lot, and then some, like mine, is pretty retracted. So it acts more like aggressive, more like kind of like a gear flat than it does gear point sometimes. So it might just be a mold thing. It could also just be very, very minuscule to where it's basically taper. But yeah, this picture looks pretty straight on for the sideways shot, and the fact you don't see anything is odd. Like, it definitely has to be perfectly center, like the bay has to be upright entirely for it to be on that point, which kind of defeats the purpose. But taper is pretty good. I think taper is a little bit more consistent than flat is.
Yeah.
So I think even if it is kind of retracted, I think it'll still be at worst, is my prediction, like a C tier part. You know, maybe not as good as point, but is it going to be better than, you know, spike, and probably better than flat? I mean, flat's fine, but it's, you know, it's kind of B tier. It's kind of mid. I don't see this being bad though. I think it's going to be pretty decent.
I think a lot of it might come down to just mold variations. Some people might get like, you know, a lot of point. Some people might get like nothing. So at worst, it probably will just end up being about as good as taper. But I do have a feeling that for the ones that do have like the intended level of point in the middle of it, that'll end up being really good. Because I find with regular point on Landclaw, it tends to be more aggressive whenever I'm using it, and it doesn't often sit on the point for a very long time. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I want to say maybe like 5 out of 6 times, or it'll attack, and 1 out of 6 it'll be on the point at the beginning of the match. But I think with this one, since taper is a little bit less aggressive than flat, and it doesn't have like as much surface area on the bottom there, it could end up activating the point a lot more often.
It looks really funny. It looks identical to the health chain taper. Like, it's the same
like-
color and everything.
Yeah.
It's just like funny.
This side view definitely does illuminate, and I know we probably could talk more positives about it, which we can in a little bit, but this side view is perfect to kind of demonstrate the big issue potentially. There is such a massive gap there between the blade and the ratchet, and that point right that's it's kind of wild, and you can see just how much plastic there really is. I already have a prediction for how much this blade is going to weigh, which is probably still fine, but I'm predicting this is like whenever we see on Twitter, whenever they first start coming out, like Taiwan, Hong Kong, whatever, the initial weight for this thing I think is going to be like 32-ish. I think it's going to be on the lighter end. I don't think any of the balance type blades in the entire system are really that weighty. Typically the heaviest ones are attack, right? Which makes sense because they have the worst stamina, so they kind of need to hit hard. But balance type, I don't know. I see this being 32-ish grams, and so I don't think it'll be a viable attack blade.
Because I think I saw that Shinobi is confirmed like almost the lightest, like right behind Landclaw, and I don't remember the other one, but
it is
they're
the
like 30
the
something.
lightest blade besides the remake stuff. So if you don't want to count those, and even then, Driger weighs more. So Dronzer is the one that weighs a little bit less. and Shinobi's UX too. So you'd expect like
Yeah.
Something.
something sort of special about it, but it's so light, and I don't think this one will be that light, but it definitely is a little alarming seeing this side view.
Yeah, but I think with Shadow, it's meant to pair up with Metal Needle, since that that Metal Needle is heavier, right, than mostly everything else.
It's like 0.6 grams. Like it's
Oh.
it's
I saw
it's
that.
so
It's negligible.
It's so minuscule. Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, rip Shadow. Maybe we'll get better luck with the next UX release.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in terms of Weiss Tiger. Oh yeah, there was that. So apparently, the way that they're doing the balance split, the large blade is the stamina blade, which is apparently used for smash attacking opponents to drain their stamina. So it actually has nothing to do with Weiss Tiger's stamina. Then you have the defense blade, which is used to dampen strong attacks, and that's where these little pieces of plastic or whatever come into play, which...
That's not even plastic. That's a
cute.
gap.
Oh, that's a gap?
I'm pretty sure it's a gap.
Oh.
That
Well,
reminds me of Night Shield, where they said the gimmick was absorption because the metal had those holes, and they were like, absorption for a piece of metal? What kind of gimmick is this right off the bat?
If it was rubber and it, like, bent inwards, like, yeah, that's something. That's, like, Medio El Drago stuff. But then again, that only works on Medio El Drago because it's left spin. So, for the most part, it's going to absorb, and it's not going to just hit it on the rubber and then lose like half its stamina. But
yeah, this whole drawing thing is just it's complete malarkey. Okay, none of this makes any sense. Stamina blade, like you think that would be the attack blade,
yeah,
Exactly.
and you think that just being the shape, I don't know. This is like whoever created this, it was due like 2 nights before, and they had to scramble. So they're like, God, I designed this bay to look cool, not actually have a purpose. So I gotta like come up with what this stuff is.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't. It's whatever.
yeah.
That's
It's,
funny.
I mean, it looks pretty wicked, and depending on how much it weighs, or if we ever at any point get like metal parts like we had with like Metal Face and whatnot, if we get anything that you can augment your Beyblade with to make it a bit heavier, this could see potential use as an attack type, I think, but calling it a balance type is brave, because this thing is ridiculous. But I think the biggest problem that this thing is going to see is sharpening at the end here, because this thing is going to wear down, and it is going to cut everybody. So get your gloves ready for that. But I think in terms of... Go ahead.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Like I love the design of it, right? And so whenever we first got pictures, like there was people in my community tab, YouTube videos, whatever, that said like this might be their favorite design yet, and those had like a lot of positivity, a lot of upvotes on those too. But if I'm being super realistic, and I want to talk about the way that it's used in the meta potentially, it is a balance type, so it's not supposed to be really good at everything. But the top tier balance types in the game right now, like Hell's Chain, Hell's Scythe, those are just really round, and they're honestly more stamina than anything. But this isn't round, right? It's more jagged. It's probably going to weigh around the same, if not maybe a little bit less. So maybe on certain combos, but I don't see this being better than Tyranno Beat for attack or Dran Dagger, because Dran Dagger is a very similar shape, but it's definitely going to weigh more.
Yeah.
Right? At least a couple. I don't exactly know what Dran Dagger is off the top of my head, but so I think this is like going to be that, that balance type jack of all trades, but it's going to be just not good enough at every single one. So I don't see it being higher than maybe like C tier.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Probably one of those like stationary attack types where you throw it on like needle or ball, and then it just sits in the middle and lives off recoil.
Yeah.
But
That was my thing. I was like, this is the obviously it's just like a 6-bladed design. I was like, this just reminds me of Drawn Dagger, And comparing Sword to Dagger, I was like, well, Dagger doesn't really seem like a hard-hitting attack type with the more blades in the design. So for this being an actual balance type, it makes a lot more sense than having a 6-bladed attack type, because I think the highest blades we've had on an attack type is kind of Phoenix, but that's like just still like a 3-bladed design. So yeah, we'll see how it works as a balance bay, but I think it has definitely potential for, like Metal said, just throwing it on something stationary and having some decent recoil and stamina.
Yeah. And the heavier stuff, too, typically has worse stamina. Like, Tyranno beats super heavy, but it dies really quick. Dran Buster is not super... It's towards the heavier end. It's not the heaviest. But, of course, it's going to die pretty quick. Shark Edge dies really quick. So, there is... If you could pair it with the right combo, I mean, it could probably outlast those, but... Could you see this beating Cobalt Drake, Phoenix Wing on point, or Wizard Rod on like Hexa? And so if this can't beat Wizard Rod, it can't be S tier. Like, because Wizard Rod is so good that they're doing like a soft ban on it in tournaments.
Yeah.
So
I think S tier, anywhere above maybe mid B tier is very generous and hopeful.
There's one more thing. One more thing. So go to the picture that showcases the chip the best. This is super small, but all the OG old heads might like it. So, as you would know, in the original Beyblade series, there was like, what are they called? The legendary beasts or whatever.
Sacred beasts.
Yeah. And so one of them, Driger, okay, used by Ray, fan favorite, okay. Elliot has made quite a few videos on the Driger lineup. He's like the Driger guy. But in the Bakuten shoot logo is made up of like a few different like triangles kind of shaped together. The western side got rid of that, but you can actually see that if you look behind the ear of the bay. You can see there is the very obvious Bakuten shoot logo there. Yeah, Elliot's showing it off. It's like that triangular shape.
Yeah.
And the other bay that has this sort of reference was Cobalt Drake, which is supposed to be a reference to Dragoon. This is definitely a reference to Driger. You can kind of see it if you look at his chest. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Big
so you can
image.
see it. You
can see it on his neck.
Dude, Cobalt Drake has such a good motif design. Like, imagine if this was like Tyranno Beat, where it was that same angle. Oh, but yeah, you could see the Bakushin logo there, and it's a reference to, Dragoon.
So the real question now is, where is it on
Drake looks
Phoenix
like he's a transformer.
He
looks like
really
he's
does.
like Megatron or something.
He's like Megatron cosplaying.
It's so sharp.
Megatron cosplaying as Dragoon.
Mm-hmm.
So is it anywhere on Phoenix Wing?
So it's not, from what I've seen, maybe it's there in secret. It's not on Phoenix Wing, so we don't technically have a Dronzer reference, and we also don't have a Drasil reference, right?
Yeah.
But then again, we still have several months of Season 1 of Beyblade X left. I don't doubt we'll see. There's also the rumored Black Shells Beyblade that was in like a leak, whatever.
That's just Black Hell's. That's maybe Black Hell's chain, but I don't think that's.
I don't think so. We'll see. I mean, maybe. I feel like we'll see a turtle themed at some point for Drasil. But then that leaves Phoenix, which in the latest chapter of the latest manga chapter, it could be a gag, as some people have said, could have not been. But Burn is working on a new Beyblade. It just wasn't ready yet to battle Common Y. He's also it's also like a fan favorite character. I think they know they struck gold. I mean, every character that has white hair in Beyblade typically goes hard. Okay, so And Burn is super cool. Phoenix was such a hyped release, so for them to not do anything with it would be a bit of an L.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see a UX Phoenix at some point, and
Hopefully.
then that will complete the Sacred Bit Beasts. And then I have another theory on top of that for season 2, but maybe that's a topic for a different discussion.
And that is our thoughts on Weiss Tiger. Let us know what you guys think of it in the comments down below, and let us know any theories you guys have on the remaining Bit Beasts. We just kind of took a look at Phoenix and saw that there wasn't anything going on with it. We don't have the Bakugan triangle in it, so maybe we'll get a UX Phoenix or something like that. And then, of course, what do you think Dracile's going to be for its homage? And, what kind of character, what kind of blade design are we going to see out of that? So all that down in the comments below. Be sure to go and check out all our personal channels. Those will be linked down in the description as well. And, yeah, that's it for this episode. We'll see you guys in the next one.